So good morning. We are, if you're not tracking, we are in week 23 of the year, and we have 48 sales weeks. 48 sales weeks, right? There's only 52 weeks in the year, but 4 of them are really for the following year. And really, if we wanted to get really like serious about it, like 8 of the last weeks of the year are really kind of next year. But we've made it to 23 weeks. I don't know what the math on that is, but what is that, like 44, 46%, give or take, somewhere in there. So we have made progress this year, and hopefully you've made progress in your business. Let's start out with gratitude, shout outs, anything positive, any brevity wins that you want to share with the group. As everyone is jumping on this morning, you know what to do. Click your little reaction button and put your hand up, and that's how we know. Jordan Davis, good morning.
Good morning. I want to give a shout out to Rachel on our team who did her 1,000 dials yesterday.
Yeah. Was that the first one?
Yes.
Woo! Rachel, we see you. Great job. Great job. And I really should have been tracking who all on my team did it. I know a bunch of you guys did it. I saw that memo, and I know Fatima and Jonathan, and I know that who else? I know Amalis and Sarah for sure did it, and I don't know who else. But you guys, it was a big day yesterday. I haven't even seen the news of what the results were nationwide, but pretty awesome what's happening. This morning, I am grateful for I'm really grateful for alarm clocks. If you have never been grateful for the little things in life, let's get back to the basics. Calendars and alarm clocks. I woke up in my dream that it was 10:08, and the first thing that popped into my head was, oh no, what happened to Texas Power Up? I was so nervous because we had that one time where we had an issue like a year ago where I don't know what happened, but I could not get internet. So that was a weird power up, but I was having nightmares about that. So I'm grateful this morning for the little things. I'm grateful for really hard weeks that build resilience in us. You guys have all been there, when you're just overwhelmed and there's not enough hours in a day. I am grateful for the resilience it builds and the clarity that it gives us of what to do, what system to build, who's the next hire, right? I know you guys have all been there, and you all know what that feels like. Last call for any shout outs, any gratitude, anything good before we go on this morning. I got to take like 2 more. So y'all figure it out.
Can I say gratitude? Extend my gratitude. I want to extend my gratitude to Jaime Corona, amazing leader, life-changing ever since I came into this team. Just everything, just the team itself is just amazing, and I'm just beyond grateful. So I just wanted to extend my gratitude out to him and the team.
Esther, that is awesome. Welcome to the company, girl. I love that.
Thank you.
You've been here a while, and I love that you are loving being here. That's awesome.
Oh, every minute of it. It's life-changing.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. That is awesome. Thanks for speaking up this morning. Bart, I'm going to you. You can wrap us this morning.
I will give gratitude to Leah Reel on our team, Director of Operations. She has been doing double duty for about 6 weeks because our listing coordinator had a baby, and she is very ready for our listing coordinator to be back. She has been awesome. She's been putting in very, very long hours, and we love her. And we're very much looking forward to Sarah coming back so Leah can get a break.
Oh man, yes, I hear that, Bart. Bart, you're a gentleman for shouting her out this morning. Leah, man, you are so appreciated, girl. Right on. Perfect. Okay, I feel good now. I feel like we have set a good foundation and starting on a really positive note. So this morning, speaking of laying a foundation, where it's what's the date, June 9th, right? We're effectively already in the second half of the year, right? Because everything that we're getting pended right now is all for July and moving forward, right? So sometimes it can feel like we set these goals and then we get to mid-year and we're not halfway through our goals. I don't know if that's ever happened to anyone. I want to share with you that when we started the team, Ben and I, back in 2016, we had 8 closings the first half of 2016. 8. We had 10 people on the team. I just want to just let you guys know that we were not rocking and rolling. We weren't this team that you guys look up to or have looked up to in the past. But the second half of the year, we really got it together, and we closed 92 the second half of the year, right? Same people. I didn't change people, right? We changed what we did. We changed our mindsets. We got real serious. Enough time had passed to where there was a hockey stick effect. So this morning, I'm really excited to speak to our guest speaker this morning, because I feel like one of his superpowers has been his consistency, his focus, and allowing enough time for that hockey stick to happen. So some background into how we got connected. Sharon, who has worked with us, she has forever recommended Ryan and Maria Hanson. It just loves them, just phenomenal people. And then they joined the place world, which is like, wow, what a small world, right? And Ben, when I asked him, hey, who else has a superpower we should talk to, right? We talked to Kimberly a few weeks ago that Ben recommended. He was like, you got to talk to Ryan Hanson. So this morning we do have Ryan Hanson, and he is, I'm going to go ahead and spotlight him for you in case you've never seen him in your life. Here is Ryan Hanson, everybody. Ryan is in this West Central Minnesota area. If you want to kind of put it in on a map, I've never been. The closest city would be Fargo, I imagine.
Yep.
And 60 miles from like North Dakota, South Dakota. Like if you ever have nothing to do and just want to wander around the United States, good place to go. Pretty lakes is what I hear. Accurate?
That's accurate. You can come visit Sharon and myself.
There you go. There you go. So as you're taking notes, let me give you some bullet points, and then we're going to jump into the interview because we got good content this morning. I'm going to give you Ryan's team, their numbers, and I'm going to give you Ryan's personal numbers, right? Because sometimes you hear team, and if you're anything like me, you're like, oh, that's nice. The whole team did it. But let me give you the whole team version. So last year, 2022, 362 units, 5 agents on the team. Okay. And then I'm going to give you Ryan's numbers personally, 188 units personally closed. And the reason when I heard that, I thought, you guys know the 4-minute mile, right? Who knows the 4-minute mile? Who wants to share what the 4-minute mile means? Somebody should speak up other than Ryan. I know Ryan knows it.
That it was believed that a human being couldn't run a mile shorter than 4 minutes. And I don't remember his name, but he did it incrementally. He trained to do it in shorter distances, and then he ran it. And then after that, tons of people did it.
It only takes one. It only takes one. Jen, was that you? Is that your voice that I heard? I hope so. I hope I got your voice right. If not, whoever sounded like Jen, you did a great explanation.
Adelina, I apologize. I just got done working out, and yes, that's why I'm not on camera.
Wonderful, wonderful. Jen nailed it. The 4-minute mile was thought to be impossible, right? Remember, like when you started in real estate and you thought 20 houses was a lot, 50 houses was a lot, 100 houses was a lot. And now 188 houses is possible, right? It doesn't mean that it's overnight. We'll talk about that. It doesn't mean that it's easy. It doesn't even have to be your goal. The purpose of today's Power Up is for you to see what does it look like to build a business of that size if you want to build it. And shoot, man, the same principles that work for 188 units will work for 28 units, I promise. So this morning, Ryan, tell us about you. Just kind of get us started with your background, like lay a foundation for who you are, what you ever do before real estate, why you even got into real estate. And thank you so much for hanging out with us this morning.
Thanks for the invite, and thanks for Sharon introducing us. We'd heard so many great things, so it was fun to finally get to meet you in Arizona and then connect since then. So appreciate the opportunity to share. That's one of the reasons we started a team, was just so that we could help other people get to where they wanted to go faster, because we have taken a slow, methodical process in order to get there. So I tried everything other than real estate. And I think that's part of the reason why I just come from this feeling of gratitude. Like, I think real estate is the most awesome profession we could get. As an industry, as a business, we don't have to buy the houses in order to be able to sell the houses. So the inventory is there. Like, it's a cheap bar of entry, but because it's really easy to get into real estate, we have lots of people doing it, and they're not intentional. They don't run a business. It's easy for people to get in and out. And so I think the number is that 85% of real estate agents don't stay in the business for, any more than 3 or 5 years. And so there's just this cycle. And so this lack of professionalism. And so I always liked real estate. So I lived in 24 houses in the little town that I live in over the course of my life. So my parents redid old houses, and we flipped houses every year before that was a thing. So I just thought that's what people did. But then I always thought, it's real estate, it's sales, and it kind of has this negative connotation to it. Like, oh, I was built for something more than that, because you didn't even need to go to classes back when my dad got a real estate license in 1980 or whatever it was. And so I thought, well, I'm going to go do some other things that are people look more highly on, or would be better suited to my skill set and my overall life goals. And then the more things I tried, I was a securities broker. I had a Series 7, Series 63. I'm a licensed attorney. I worked for Best Buy Corporate. I just did lots of others. I was a commercial lender. And so I just did a lot of different things. And then I just kept coming back to, was it bringing me joy? So I love my parents a lot, but one of the things they taught me, one was about real estate. The other was that they my dad worked for a government job and did that for 38, 40 years, something like that, and got a watch when he was done. And for me, that just wasn't, like, I already had a watch. Like, that wasn't what I was looking for in my life. And so I wanted to make an impact. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to take whatever God-given powers and things that I could have and make an impact on the world. And so I thought real estate was the way to do it. So I tried lots of other things, but really took a breakdown and looking at, well, what do I want to do? Where do I want to do it? So my wife and I were living in the Twin Cities. We're high school sweethearts. We spent the weekends coming back to the lakes and had this sense of awe and calm. And then all of a sudden, heading back on a Sunday night in traffic for 3, 4, or 5 hours, depending on how bad it was, we realized, like, what are we doing? We're making a living, and we got to where we wanted to go, but did we have our mindset on the wrong goal? And so then all of a sudden we looked at it and said, well, now we know where we want to live. We want to live back in the community and raise a family and enjoy the outdoors. But how are we going to make a living at it? And so that's when we got into real estate.
I love that. So your wife, did she have a job, or did she?
Yeah, she was a teacher.
Okay.
Yep. So I was an attorney. She was a teacher. And so we moved back to a town of 13,000 people.
Okay. So I want to paint the picture for everyone. So, your team, closing, 362 units, you closing 188 units. This wasn't like in the Twin Cities. This was in the small town of, what is it even called?
Fergus Falls of 13,000 people. So most of you may live, especially if you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you might live in a subdivision with 13,000 houses. You might live in a zip code with 13,000 people, right? 13,000 is like your entire, like, people, all of them. They're like practically all in your database probably right now. Anyway, okay. Yeah, we do have 28,000 people in our database. So we cover an area, but I think we've got everyone in our town of 13,000 covered, kids included.
That sounds good. So you weren't like really into sales. It had a bad connotation for you. What's your philosophy on sales?
To me, sales is problem solving. And so we built a house about 5 years ago, and one of the contractors there, I'm always just paying attention to life lessons, like taking things that aren't necessarily real estate related, but all real estate is helping people solve a problem. What is that problem? I need a bigger yard. I need a bigger kitchen. I need like whatever the thing is, it's solving a problem. And so taking that problem solving approach, that's one of the things that law school really taught me, was just this analytical approach, breaking it down. It doesn't mean you can't be emotional, but can you take the emotion out and just solve the problem? And so we had a contractor where we had this tile and finished about 70% of the bathroom that was being done. And there was no more in the country. And they just say, oh, sorry. And so I was waiting for that contractor to throw me under the bus, like a lot of other, like, oh, you should have had more of this, and this is your fault, or blaming somebody else. And instead, he really owned up to it. And he said, it was my job as the professional to avoid the pitfalls, not just pull you out of them. And so that one has really stuck with me. And so that's what I just look to do, is like, I'm here to be the professional, to be the navigator, to keep our clients, to inform them, keep them energized when they need energy, and to slow the energy down when the emotions are way up here, and just to consistently get us. They've told us where they want to go, and it's my job as a professional to make that path as enjoyable or as calm or as smooth as possible in order for them to get the best experience. So customer service is what we do. And I was focused very, learning what you do takes a while. And what we do is a challenge because there's so many people involved. So there's 10 people at least in every transaction. No matter what, when we start, there's 4, a buyer, a seller, a listing agent, a buyer's agent. There could be other brokers involved. There could be the insurance agent, the title company, the appraiser. Like, there's just a lot of people in order to be able to make this transition as smooth as possible. So I was really focused on getting those systems in place. And Sharon was a key part of that as a transaction coordinator in our team several years ago. It's like, how do we do that? But customer service is what you do, and hospitality is how you make people feel about what you do. And so we got pretty good at knowing what we needed to do. And then I don't know if it's Scandinavian humbleness where we come from or what, but everyone's just kind of like, oh, just kind of do my job. And so one of the coaches I had, just celebrating successes. So you don't have to say how awesome I am. I'm not trying to be the hero in their story. And I think that's what a lot of agents try and do, is like, hey, I'm awesome. I got you this or got you that. I'm not trying to be that. I'm trying to give them the best experience possible and make them the hero in their own story. So we've just gotten really focused over the last several years on that hospitality piece. How are they feeling about that? How can we make them feel like it's a win? Hey, did you know that there were 9 other offers and you got that? We're breaking hearts all over town. I'm so excited for you and being a part of this journey. Thank you so much for being part of that, and being sincere about it.
I love that. Breaking hearts all over town. I hope you guys wrote that down. That was, I'm gonna say that one. So how long have you been building this business? And what did that journey look like? Obviously we could talk for a few hours, but the short version, what does that journey look like? Were you an overnight success, or what does that look like?
I do a lot of research on overnight successes, and it turns out they're very, very few. So most of those overnight success, musicians have been slogging it out in some bar for the last 20 years, and that's really how we've done it too. And so I worked 60 plus hours a week that first year, and I had a newborn at home, and so our oldest just graduated this last weekend, and so I know that I've been in the real estate business for 18 years. Because he just graduated. And so we had a newborn at home. I had a wife that was teaching an hour away and just worked at it, and sold 26 houses that first year. And I think my net after that was like about $18,000, something like that. And so it was definitely not enough to live on. And so I look at it and go, boy, that seemed like a lot of work. And but I wasn't playing the short game. I was playing the long game. Like, I'd done all the other things, and I'd taken an inventory on what things bring me joy, what things that I thought I could make an impact with the world. And those things didn't change in a year. So my trajectory wasn't, hey, if I can't sell this many houses this first year, I'm going to go do something else. I had the pleasure of already trying like literally everything else I could have possibly thought about. And so I got into real estate. So, I look at life as the journey and not the destination. And so I've learned all kinds of things along that path. And I knew that this is what I was going to do. It didn't happen that first year, didn't happen that second year, didn't really happen that third year. And then all of a sudden by that third year, I realized that I felt the changes were happening so slowly that I didn't realize that I was making those changes. I was getting better. Like, I was talking to more people. I hadn't started tracking things yet, but I was being more effective. Like, I was doing a lot of the similar things, but I was seeing better results. And then from year 3, 4, 5, I kept going. There was an agent in our brokerage that had been the #1 agent in our market for over 30 years. Got his license when he was 19, and he'd been killing it ever since then. And then all of a sudden, one year I slipped by him. I was like, wow, that's possible. I didn't think that was possible, but that was our ceiling of achievement, because there was no one else for 60 miles around that had sold 80 or 82 houses. And I think that year I beat him by like 1 or 2. I was like, wow, that is possible at like year 5. And then all of a sudden, it kept going and going. And then I realized that we all reach a ceiling of achievement no matter what. And so we needed help. And so came to Keller Williams about 10 years ago because I really like that team model. We're all on teams. It's just a matter of how intentional are we with that. real estate it's a lifestyle. It's not necessarily a profession. Like there are very few agents that I know that say, at 4 o'clock, I'm no longer an agent. So when they're out having dinner or going to entertainment somewhere or at a kid's ball game, that they're like, no, don't talk to me about real estate because I checked out at that at 4 o'clock this afternoon. I'm just me now. Like, no, we're always involved in that. And so if we don't have a family or a support system or friends or other people behind us, like that is our team. And so having that network of success around you and surrounding, like who you surround yourself with matters. And so if they're not involved in helping you with that lifestyle of being intentional with that, then it's going to be tough. And so what I liked about Keller Williams is with that team model is that my wife Maria had done all the things behind the scenes. So from a personal life, she took care of things when all of a sudden I had to shift in appointments or we had to call the sitter or whatever. We have 3 boys, and so they now can sit by themselves. They didn't for a very long time. Like, how do we adjust and work with that? And so having that support system was really important. But that's when we got really focused 10 years ago on not instead of her just picking up the pieces, being able to well define that role so that we could succeed together.
I love that. So a couple of things, I guess, going back to your story, was it ever frustrating that you felt like everybody already knew a real estate agent? Because when you're in a city of 13,000, does everybody already know somebody?
There are very,
how did you break through?
There is no one that is waiting to buy or sell real estate, waiting for some new licensee to get their license. Like, they are going to find them. And so the one that really like stabbed me in the heart, that gave me that realization was I was a lifeguard for 7 years. About 3 months after I got my real estate license, I say, "Hey, Butch, I got my real estate license, all this." And he's like, "Oh, I just listed my house with Tom." Tom was the one that I was gunning for. It was like, "You knew I was in real estate and we just talked." He's like, "Yeah, you've only been at this 3 months. So we're going to go with the guy that's been doing it for 30 years and has been number one." Thing. He goes, "I'll get to you the next time around." Well, most people don't buy and sell, every month or two. So that next time around, that was 18 years ago, and he hasn't moved since then. So.
Oh man. So ultimately, like, what did you, those first few years, because a lot of us are in those first few years, what did that look like?
Success leaves clues. So I think one of the things that I'm just a keen observer. Like, I like paying attention to what other people's success looks like. So I am the poster child of someone who doesn't have a superpower. I am just gritty. Like, I pay attention, I'll refine things. Like, when I realized in real estate that it was a profession, one, like, be professional. So like, you teach people how to treat you. So I have worn a tie every day for the last 18 years, not because you have to wear a tie to sell real estate, but I was younger than other people. Like, I needed to do something different. So if you do the same thing that everyone else does, you're going to get what everyone else has. And I wanted more than other people had. And so I knew that I was going to have to do something different. So I've still worn ties because I got a whole closet full of them, and that's what I do every day. But so what are those things that success leaves clues? What are people doing? So, there were 18 agents at the brokerage that I was at. I just paid attention to all the things that they were doing. I think where some people get off the wrong path is they try and do everything that everyone else is doing. And you can always outspend time and money in real estate than there is. And so I wasn't trying to do everything that everyone else was doing, but I was paying attention to all the things that everyone else was doing, and then taking those pieces that I thought would work for me or my business or my budget or my time, and being able to implement and refine those. So I look at it as a lot of agents are kind of like buyers. We're like, well, if I could have this backyard and this kitchen and this thing. And so we compare our insides to other people's outsides. And so all of a sudden, well, this person on TikTok does this and this person does this. And so now I'm trying to do all the things that everyone else is doing. And there's no way that we can do that. And so they execute everything poorly instead of doing something exceptionally. And so I just started paying attention to the very successful things that other agents were doing. How did they talk to people? How did they go on a listing appointment? Where were they getting their business from? Like, I just would ask a lot of questions, and I did a lot of things for free. Like, I would just follow them. Hey, I'll hold the tape measure. Like, I learned that lots of people, you can get some really cheap advice if you go invite people out for coffee or lunch. Like, people want to talk about themselves. When you say, hey, you want to get on and talk about your journey? Well, that's easy. I know me. I've been knowing me for a long time. I can tell you about things, me, and most people, I like that. And so reach out to people that are where you want to be or where you want to go. And all I do is call them and say, hey, I've just really been impressed by just you as a person and the business that you've grown. I'd love to take you out for coffee and learn more about your journey. And all of a sudden, hey, you pick that up, and from agents and from business owners and other people that I wanted to have a life like.
I love that. It sounds like you didn't feel like anyone owed you anything. If you wanted it, you went and got it.
Yeah, I don't, whether it's that humbleness, like, I've realized that everybody is just a person. And so for most part, they might be further along in that journey, but it's not because they might be more beautiful. I haven't figured that one out, but chances are they're people, right? And so they either got lucky, they were blessed, they're further along in the journey, whatever it is. But you can identify good human beings, and good human beings want to share with other good human beings. So come from contribution. Look at what problem do they have? How can I solve that? I mean, if someone runs a business, every business owner I know is trying to identify, retain, motivate talent. And so almost always it's a talent conversation. So you talk to a business owner, hey, what's your biggest challenge you're seeing? Is there anything we could do to be able to help you with that? Oh, okay, well, who isn't gonna love the camaraderie of sharing where they've been, what they're challenged by, and then potentially get help with that? Like, I have yet to have anyone turn me down on that conversation.
Right on. What do you consider your competitive advantage then?
Grit. So we don't quit. And so, I'm playing the long game. And so when I realized that this is what I was going to be doing, it wasn't a matter of quitting. Like, what I look at is a lot of people have a really good plan B, and so they don't give everything to plan A. Now, I'm not saying I'm jumping out of the plane without a chute, because I know that this isn't life or death. This is real estate. It's a profession. No one bleeds out. There's a ton of urgency, but there's very few emergencies. And so we can go work through whatever those things look like. But the superpower is that most people, I mean, there's so many stories of, quitting for the biggest, mining for gold, and quitting 3 feet from the biggest find in the last 40 years, or whatever those things are. Like, it's possible. And so our superpower is just paying attention, being sincere. Like, we get paid in real estate because we help other people solve their goals. It's not the other way around. Like, I don't look at this as, hey, I get paid a bunch of money to go open doors and help people get their new homes. Like, I get to help people with one of the biggest financial decisions and emotional decisions. And it's not all great. Like, I find out about some pretty severe family events before other people. Like, I don't take that lightly, that I get invited into other people's inner circle because of what we do. And I'm very grateful for it. And so I just come from feeling of gratitude, like, sincerely. Like, if there was something else that I thought I would be better at, that I could make a bigger impact, or that I would love more, I would be doing that. And so if we're not doing that in our own business, maybe we're not in the right business. Like, what is it that we're here for? Like, there's a big life out there. Don't spend it doing things that you don't love or enjoy, or you feel like you're best utilized. But just sincerely breaking it down. It doesn't mean that I love everything about real estate. We had our morning power up this morning on our team, and Ryan on our team knocked it out. She had 350 Brivity dials yesterday and like 70 some mojo. And so we looked at that and go, well, that's amazing. And what if we did that every week or every month, or once a year? Like, what would our businesses be like when we break it down and go, wow, that is amazing that you called for 10 to 11 hours in one day? And ultimately, what did we do? We were on the phone talking to people about real estate. Like, I've done a lot of things. I know a lot of people. Like, that isn't that bad. Like, if that's like the hardest thing you do in a given month, and it can make that big of an impact on your own personal life, your professional life, your family's life, the legacies that you leave, I think we overcomplicate things and make ourselves feel like we're doing more than we are. Like, we provide an important service, but we're not that important. They could find somebody else out there. So for me, it's just making sure that people understand that I am sincerely grateful for the opportunity to help them in such an important situation, and that we are here to have this. If they want it to be fun, we are going to be fun. And if you want it to just be serious and to the point, we understand that, and we can accomplish that too. So we're delivering. First, we're asking enough questions to find out who it is in our world and what are they looking for, and then how best we can help them accomplish that. It's not having everyone in the world fit into what we're doing. We help them have the experience that they're looking for.
I love that. It took a while to build the business, right? Because we're 18 years later. Would you have done anything differently to accelerate that? Like, how would you coach us on that?
I would say probably every coach on Monday can come up with a different plan for Sunday afternoon's game after the fact. For me personally, it's break things faster. So that perfection, so for me, at one time we were having more than 70% of our business from past clients and referrals. There's some advantages to being in a town of 13,000 people. News can travel quickly. If that news is negative, it also can travel quickly. And so I've always been super cautious about the fact that making sure that we're not moving too fast and putting a client's experience at stake. I also think that it takes a lot to get to 100%. So could 95% be okay? Could 90% be okay? Could hey, something slipped through and an apology or a lunch date afterwards have made up for it? And so that's more where we're at now. Like I would have moved a little bit quicker, but not too, if I had to choose between moving way fast and what we did, I'm glad we did what we did. We built a solid foundation and we're continuing to do that. But perfection is overrated. So we need to make some progress. And so coming up with a plan, even though it's not 100% executed, you're going to learn things and refine those as you go. So if somebody hasn't seen the marshmallow experiment with kids and building with like toothpicks and building these things, like 4 and 5 year olds do way better than most other professions in that exercise, because they just keep building it and then breaking it, building it and breaking it. And they have 5 minutes and all of a sudden they've gone a long ways, and other people are sitting there trying to come up with the perfect solution and they can't actually execute on what, they never finished the project because they spent all of their time preparing. And so for a lot of this, come up with a plan and then execute the plan, and then you're going to learn from that plan what the next plan should look like. So version 5.0 is always going to be better than version 1.0, regardless of how much time you spent on 1.0.
I love that. And I remember back in the day, our original agents, the agents that you see today, they're making bank, but 2016, 2017, and we look at Maria, we look at Elizabeth, people on our teams here in Texas, from Dallas to San Antonio to everywhere. And the reality is what we used to do 5 years ago, now we can do so much faster and better because so many people have trailblazed for us, and really just leaning into that. I love it. Okay. Tactical questions. I know everybody's always interested in tactics. Where does your business come from and how do you view that?
Past clients and referrals. So I looked at it as relationship real estate instead of transactional real estate. That at the beginning of January, when you start out at zero again, regardless of what your year looks like, it can be very daunting. It's like, oh my goodness, I have fixed expenses. I have all these other things. What is that going to look like this next year? And when I realized you can have compounding clients, you don't have to do amazing things. So I don't give closing gifts, and people look at that like, how can you not give closing gifts? You have to say thank you. I do say thank you. I say thank you all the time, and I follow up with them and I talk to them and I'm sincere about it. But no amount of gift card or cutlery or something else have I found that would be better than having that long-term relationship. So being in that relationship and constantly asking for the referral is very important. But I always come from contribution. How can I help them? And they know that I'm not just calling to say, hey, who do you know that wants to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? And so being just really consistent about that. So past clients and referrals is where we get the majority of our business. It seems odd, but I'm trying to get that number down because we're adding some additional sources.
Okay. Can I add a follow-up question to that? Because,
yeah.
I'm going to put my real estate agent hat on for a second. And when you say past client and referrals, kind of what I hear and what I imagine some of our people may hear is, I am waiting for the phone to ring. I'm probably not in my privity. I'm probably not like, there's not a plan around it. It just all comes to me. Is that true?
If you haven't listened to Mike Hicks, The Promise, I strongly recommend it. And so we could be executing that better. I know Mike does it better than I do, but that mindset around setting expectations, like, so people, we teach people how to treat us. And so being professional, so I don't give a closing gift, because what I do is I deliver on what I say I'm going to deliver on. So many times I find out that agents are like, they're making up for a bad walkthrough or missing something or doing something else. Like, oh my goodness, I got to go buy them something because that did not go well. We just make sure we deliver on what we say we're going to do. And when we do, we start with, hey, we'd love the opportunity to, thank you so much for being able to allow us to help you in this transaction. We know you have a ton of other choices, and it means a ton to us that we're able to be a part of this journey with you. And we'd love to be able to rock, you're amazing. And you told us this is going to be your forever home. And so we're not going to get this opportunity, but we know that you love, other amazing people, because amazing people know amazing people, and you're amazing. So we'd love the opportunity to hang out again when your friends or your coworkers or somebody else is buying or selling a place. So don't forget about us and stay connected. So that's the one. It's just setting that expectation that this is not just, we're not here just to get you into that house or to sell your house and then be done. Like, we're here to be your lifelong real estate advisors and partners. And then events. So events are a big part of it. So we don't do closing gifts, we do events. And so having those quarterly events, and they do not have to be big things. Like, when I see other people spend a lot of money doing things, that's just not what we do. Like, most of our events are $1,000 or less, and we get, between 150 and 200 people at them in a given time, and we do them 4 times a year. And so that allows us to be able to have a reason that's for them and not us to reach out to them. And so every quarter we can be calling them and saying, hey, how is the house? How are you getting settled in? We're so excited to be able to invite you to our picnic, our pumpkin patch event, our movie in the park, or whatever the things are, our Pie Day pizza giveaway in March. And so we're really excited to see you there. Just wanted to give you a heads up that that'd be coming in your inbox, and I'll follow up, and hopefully you'll be able to make it. Like, that gives that opportunity that's in it for them to be able to continue that relationship instead of just me asking for that referral. And then a big one is the part about the events that I had learned from a mastermind several years ago, actually down in Austin, was the follow-up afterwards. Like, I was so, like, to me, the event was either successful or not, depending on how many people came to the event. And what I learned was, I don't care how many people come to the event, because the event was just about having the opportunity. I mean, I want to see them and engage with them, but the level of success of whether it was successful or not wasn't whether 10 people showed up or 100 people showed up. It was about that we had the opportunity to reach out to them beforehand and connect in something that was valuable to them. And then the follow-up was where the fortune was, which was, sorry, I missed you. I'm so, I was, I'm sorry that we set it up at a time that didn't work for you, or you were going to be out of town. I'm excited for that next event. And so I'll reach out to you again. It's just constantly giving reasons that we can follow up with people that's in it for them instead of for us. So we're always just looking to come from contribution. So past clients and referrals is where we get that. It doesn't happen accidentally, but it is very purposeful and builds over time. And so each year, if you get 50% of your business from past clients and referrals, and you help 10 people in a year, you already know where 5 of those people are going to be next year. And so you only have to go find 5 more, or 10 more, or whatever your goals are. And then all of a sudden that snowball starts rolling, and it gets bigger and bigger, because now all of a sudden your past clients, I've got 2,500 by the end of this year. We'll have close to 3,000 past clients. I get that someone new doesn't have that, but we've been intentional about that for a long time. So you can do that too. And then all of a sudden, if you're playing the long game, after 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, you've got that too. And that becomes a huge stool, leg to your stool that you can build the rest of your business around, that somebody else can't take away.
I love that. What does your day look like?
Yeah, I'm super intentional about my calendar. So if you have not done calendaring exercises of finding out where your time goes, My kids hate it when they say, hey, I didn't have time. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry you got shorted your 24 hours yesterday. Like, what happened to your time? And so be really intentional with it. And it's kind of like when you get really good at scripting at work, that doesn't shut off when you get home. Like, you get really intentional with the words you use, and you become a better listener. Like, that applies to your personal life as well as your business life. So it's not all about business. We said that this is a lifestyle and not just a job. And so when you can get really intentional, purposeful with your time at work, that runs over into your personal life as well. So I usually get up between 6:30, work out, pray, get ready for the day, drop my kids off at school, and I'm at work by 8 o'clock. Our power ups used to be at 8:45. Just this last month, we moved them to 8:15. And so I would catch up on whatever I needed to during the day before our morning power ups. Then we'd have a power up for half an hour and then get on the phone, because I know that no matter what, there will be people that need things by the end of the day. And so if I don't take care of the things that are going to move our business along at the beginning of the day, we're going to miss out. So for me, I do the lead generating, and there's a big difference between lead generating and lead follow-up. What I think a lot of people focus on is, hey, I was on the phone talking to clients. That's not the same. They aren't the same thing. They're both necessary, but one is an active where we're building that funnel bigger and bigger. And so are you talking to enough people about real estate, or are you betting so much that one person is going to get you to the finish line? So if you have to have an offer accepted this week and you're talking to one person, oh, that client's really needy, and I have to give them all my time. You are betting a lot that one person is going to get you to the finish line. But if you were talking to 10 people or 20 people or 50 people that week, it's a numbers game. Your odds are just better that you're going to be able to hit that one appointment or 2 appointments or 5 appointments and get that property under contract when you're talking to more people. And they are not, even if you have a big database, if you have a big business, even if you're the number one in whatever market you're in, there's very rare times where people are just going to call you and say, hey, I need you. It does happen more and more, and that can be a great part of your business. But if you are not reaching out to people, they are not thinking about us nearly as much as we're thinking, man, I need a sale. And so that lead generating time for a couple hours right after our morning power up. So from 8:45 or 9 o'clock until 11 o'clock, I'm really intentional. Do everything I can not to set walkthroughs, not to set appointments or anything else during that time, because there's urgencies in real estate and not emergencies. Most of these appointments that people want can be handled after lunch. And so do those calls. Then from 11 to 1, that's when I have a lot of masterminds, Zoom meetings, just follow-ups, catch-ups from the morning of doing my best not to be distracted by other people's needs. And then setting appointments and that lead follow-up between about 1 to 5, 1 to 6, and then having a time to do evening appointments. So I'm on appointments probably 3 times a week. And so I made a commitment to myself. I track everything. And so before I pull into my driveway or pull into my garage every night, I've taken an inventory of what my activities were for the day. So we have recency bias. We think whatever that last phone call or whatever that last appointment was how good of a day I had. So if I had a great appointment, that last appointment, I had a great day. Well, maybe I only talked to 3 people. Maybe that isn't that great for my overall goals, but that last person was really nice and they liked me, so it felt really good. So I had a good day. So taking that emotion out of it before I go home and walk in, I'm taking track of an inventory of what were my activities for the day. How many people did I talk to? Were they new people, so I was adding to my database, or were they people that I was nurturing? And then what did I talk to them about? Did I set a listing appointment? Did I go on a listing appointment? Did I take a listing? Did I set a buyer appointment? Did I hold a buyer appointment? Did I take a buyer contract? Did I write a contract? Did I receive an offer on something? Did I send or receive a referral? Did I hold an open house? Like, those are my activities every day that I am tracking and paying attention to, because those are the things that are going to lead to me being able to stay in business and have a big career. So I'm keeping track of those before I go in. So a coach helped me realize and had an epiphany that the only thing I wasn't tracking in my life was my family time. And it's like, so for about 5 years, I tracked my family time. It seems impersonal. It's like, really, you got to go track that? Like, well, I just tracked all the other things that were measurables in my life that were really important to me. And the reason I'm doing all those things is to have, support my family and make a big life. So I track that too. So for me, it's 26 hours a week. So at
Yeah,
least
that's
2
what I was
hours.
gonna ask you. I was like, everybody here is thinking, God, this guy sells 188 homes. He just went through his schedule with us and it sounds very intense. Do you even have fun? Do you have family time? So you have 26 hours a week family time. Talk to us about that. What is that? How do you get there?
And it
What
was
does that
different when my kids were younger. So I would, I was always the dad at the field trips. Tuesday T-ball games at 9 o'clock. Other people couldn't be there. I was always there. Was I working? Sure, because real estate is a people business. And so am I sitting there talking to people? Yes. Do I say, do you want to buy, sell, and invest in real estate? No. When you're sitting there watching some kids for an hour, guess what? They have some things they want. They know what you do. You know, wear your name tag or wear a branded shirt, or eventually everyone knows who you are because your face is on signs all over your farm. And so being intentional and having those conversations. But I was always there to put my kids to bed. Then I would go to work for 3 or 4 hours after 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock when they went to bed. But we have the flexibility to be intentional with our time. And so if people don't value you, there's this balance between when I talk to agents or people that say, I don't work after 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock, or I don't do any appointments on the weekend, do not hear me. Sharon will know that is not the lifestyle I live. So I have made a trade-off for things. So, but we've also been able to have a really big life. Like I was thinking about this, you know, we went to Alaska on a cruise just pre-pandemic in August. And so were my kids playing cards in the room that we were in as we were watching these glaciers? Yes. Was I on the phone for about an hour to an hour and a half each day? Yes. Was I really strategic on the time that I was there? Yes. So I worked for about an hour and a half a day. Our family got to experience a trip of a lifetime in Alaska and taking helicopters and landing on glaciers and having fresh salmon that was just caught minutes ago. And did I sell 6 houses that funded that entire week? Yes. And so for me, I'm willing to sacrifice a short period of time in my life, or being intentional during those times, to have the whole rest of it be a really big life. And so our kids have grown up that way. I don't look at it as, I'm not going to take a phone call with them unless it's absolutely necessary. And they've been a part of this journey all along, as has Maria, my spouse. Like, it's not all fun or all work. It's like, can you be intentional with the things that you're doing? And that allows you to be able to have the big life that you want. So I track 2 hours a day, then make sure that I'm always at a minimum. And are there some days where it's 5? Sure. Do I leave for an entire weekend? Do we go on vacation? Yes. But I'm going to make sure at the end of the week, like by Wednesday, if I'm like, boy, I had an appointment Wednesday or Tuesday that lasted longer than I thought, I'm going to make sure that I'm home earlier so that we can make up that time. So I'm not trying to do 26 hours on Sunday, because that's not feasible.
So like 2 hours a weekday, 8 hours a weekend?
Saturday and 8 hours Sunday.
8 hours Sunday, 8 hours Saturday, 2 hours weekday. I love that. Great model. Speaking of models, how do you become the real estate mayor of your town? Like, if any of us wanted to pick our 13,000 people and be mayor of those 13,000, like you've become, to close 188 deals or 80 deals or 18 deals, what would you say? What would you coach us on?
Slowly, then quickly. So again, it's the same mindset. It's just coming from contribution. Just a lot of the relationships we have taken 5 or 10 years, and that's okay, because I'm playing the long game. So come from contribution. So we volunteer on several boards, not because my ultimate goal was to become the mayor of real estate in town, but because they were things that I believed in and wanted to make an impact in. And then you build strong relationships that way, and those people will refer their business. So, you know, what you're doing is earning your trust, and then they know what you do. So what we need to do is, people need to know who you are, they need to know what you do, and they need to think of you when they're doing what we do, which is real estate. And so there's lots of different ways to do that. We can call people, we can follow up with people, we can be involved in things. And so people look at you as a person and a contributor to whatever that thing is. And then they're going to want to do business with you. It's not like even a choice. So like, we have a high conversion ratio on our listing appointments. I thought it was because I was just really good at listing appointments that, you know, we have about a 80% conversion ratio. No, it just turns out who we're talking to. Like, we've built these relationships for a long time, so they don't even think about going to somebody else. It's not because I had the best script or that, you know, I arrived 1 minute ahead of time or whatever it was. It's because your business becomes a lot easier when you're dealing with people that just want to do business with you rather than having to sell them on what you do. So that mayor piece, slowly then quickly, just being really focused on one relationship at a time, asking questions of other people and trying to help them with whatever those pain points are. Like, people, everybody has a problem. Find out what that problem is, and chances are I'm not the one to solve it, but I look at myself as a super connector. I just want to connect people with the person that can go help them. So I do not solve everyone's problems. I maybe solve 5% of people's problems, but I put them in touch with, hey, you know who's a great person? I just had a great conversation with so-and-so this last week. You guys need to meet. Is it okay if I do a group text or connect you guys? Because I think you'd be a really good fit for each other. I was just talking to someone that had the same challenge in business. Maybe we can meet up for coffee or do something, and just connecting people and bringing them together. What I realized is there's a ton of other people that are doing a lot of the same things, just slightly differently. So I don't have to do it all. I can just be the one that brings the people together, and it helps them solve the problem. And then both of those people benefit. And then because I'm a part of something and brought them together, I get the benefit of that new relationship or problem solving activity, and I didn't have to do it.
If you're, so I know past clients and referrals are your primary lever right now. If that went away, like, what would you lean on next?
So the good news is it doesn't go away. But if I had to go like to a new market, that's one of the things I look at, is like, I wouldn't have new clients if I left for a new market. But one of the things I really like about past clients as referrals is you've already done the hard work. And so no one can take that away. And so I love the fact that they can't do that. But if I was to go to a new market, what would I do? I would do the things that I did faster. And so, like, I've spent maybe $20 a month on Zillow for the last 10 years. And so when Zillow changed things and became a brokerage, like, that didn't affect my business because I wasn't devoting so much of my time, money, and energy just to that business. But for me, I would, like, Brevity is amazing. And so the database is what all that your real estate business is. And so I would work on growing that database as big as possible. I worked for a brokerage 20 years ago for securities. I knew 2 people in the town of 60,000 people. And so every day I went and knocked on doors for 3 months. And at the end of that 3 months, I had a 1,200 person database with people that I'd met at least 7 times. And so I know that it's possible. So what I would do is grow the biggest database I could as quickly as possible. And so I had a coach that said, you guys are all successful, or, you know, people in your room. We started with 3,000 people and got down to 40 in this room. So they were all successful people, and you're all going to take flight. Do you want to take the dusty runway where you're bouncing, and finally take flight? Or do you want to be launched from an aircraft carrier? Either way, you're going to be in the air. But one of those, you like buckle up, buttercup. And the other one, you'll be flying, but it's going to take you a lot longer to get in the air. Like, I just look at it and go, I'd rather be launched from a fighter pilot because I only got so many years ahead of me, and I want to make those as intentional as possible.
Oh my God, I love that analogy. I will definitely be using that. We definitely launch people from that stance. Okay, so second to last question. What's your advice for someone who wants to run this 4-minute mile and build a business helping 100 families? There are people on this call who are close to this or have a vision to build a big business, right? What's your advice for someone who wants to do the 4-minute mile in real estate?
So we know it's been done already, and so it's possible. And so look at the people that are emulating the kind of life that you lead. So first is taking an inventory of where you are before deciding where you want to go. Like, when you put something into the GPS, there's a location that doesn't do any good if you don't know where you are already. And a lot of times knowing where you are already requires you to find out how you got to where you are. And so take an inventory where you are, look back to see how did you get here. You don't want to change everything. And so that's the biggest thing, that when I go to a new event or learn something new or I read a new book, it's like, oh, everything I'm doing is wrong, so I got to do this because this one person did all it. Well, no. Like, let's not change everything. Let's just look at what are the things that got us to where we are. Do we need to refine them? Do we need to tweak them? There are lots of people that have talked about this. Did we just get lucky, or are we good? So breaking down and analyzing the things, not only that went poorly, like most people only analyze things when they went bad, and say, well, I got unlucky, or I blame somebody else. No, break down every day or every week or every year, look at it and go, well, what things went well? And was that something because I got lucky, or is it something that I did, and something that I can control and something that I can duplicate? Like, to me, scale is super important. If I can't do something 100 times, I don't do it once, because getting lucky, to me, I can't control that. What I want is some consistency in my business. I want something that I can know whether or not the interest rates are 6% or 3%, whether or not it's a buyer's market or a seller's market. I want something that I can run it. I'm not going to run the exact same play, because the team is different, that our opposition is different, but I'm gonna consistently have something that I can execute on instead of just getting lucky. So looking at where I am, how did I get here, and then what is my goal? And that goal is looking at, well, what are other people doing that seem to have the life or the business, the family, the whatever it is that I'm looking for. Follow them on Facebook, follow their feeds, see what they're tweeting, like, just get in touch with what are they reading, like, what are they learning from? Chances are all of their ideas are not their own. There are very few new ideas, but taking those ideas and applying them differently, or in a different market or a different time, that's how these changes are made. So find out where you are so that you can get an idea of where you're going, and then you can chart that path on how best to get there. Do you want to take the slow route, the long route? Like, when I throw something to GPS, there's always more than one way to get there. And so identifying which of those paths is best, and then not just setting that map on your sidelines for the next 3 years, constantly revisiting it is really important.
I love that. Do you have any books or podcasts or resources that you want to recommend and leave us with?
Yeah, I love reading, love audiobooks. So Masters of Scale is a podcast that I've listened to for many years. I love that one. It's by Reid Hoffman, who is one of the co-founders of LinkedIn and PayPal. And so they just take huge people that run these really big businesses, and how do you scale it? So when I say don't do something once if you can't do it 100 times, that's where I've really learned a lot of that philosophy from some really great people. I remember Sheryl Sandberg from Facebook they interviewed, and she's like, we used to do birthday cakes when there were 30 people at Facebook. Do you know what it's like to have a sheet cake with 3,000 people's name on it every quarter, like for new hires? Like, just thinking about that and going, well, I want this big business. This is going to be a long-term. This is foundational. Like, I'm running the race as the tortoise and not the hare. Like, what are those things that I want to make sure that I don't have to constantly scrap because all of a sudden it worked for 3 people, but it didn't work for 30. And then the book, The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek. I really like, Simon's a great thought leader and team leader. And so that infinite game. So stop trying to measure your daily, weekly, yearly successes like a football game where there's a half and it's keeping score. When you get to the finish line of life at your funeral, no one is going to say that you won at life regardless of how you played the game. You are no longer here. So stop trying to measure your daily activities or your week based on this keeping score. It's an infinite game. So play the long game.
Oh man, could not have wrapped that up better myself. That was really good. How do people get in touch with you? Can you pop that into chat?
Yeah, sure can.
Email. Some of you on the call are like, never want to have this kind of business, not really interested in staying connected to Ryan. Some of you definitely, I know you want to have a business where you're closing, 50, 60, 80, 100, 180, 280. Because it means something to you outside of just selling another house. Like, none of us are even talking about just selling another house, guys. It's just the impact that you want to make, and everybody's impact is going to be different. We talked about yesterday on our team, the axe and the razor, right? An axe does not cut hair, and a razor doesn't cut a tree, right? But one is not better than the other, right? So whatever your goals are, we're here to serve your goals, and we're here to help you think differently about life, right? And sometimes we'll talk about events, sometimes we'll talk about listings, sometimes we talk about a million gazillion things. some people are going to land really well with you. Ryan's information is in chat. You are able to pop that into your phone. I'll give you 2 seconds. And I just, I so appreciate you, Ryan, for making time this morning. I know you have a million things going on, obviously, since you help 188 families. We are appreciative of your time this morning and pouring into us.
Thanks for having me at the Texas Power Up. I've heard so many great things about it, and it's fun to be a part of it.
Oh man, absolutely. We have Jeff Glover in town teaching today, so we've got a few people out for that, but it is recorded, which we do go back to our recording. So Texas, you guys are awesome. We'll see you next week. Ryan, have a good rest of your weekend. Thanks, Maria, for letting Ryan be on here, and the rest of your team for giving us your time. Have a good one, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.